I'm Mrs. Jansen. I'm going to be reading chapter 59, Destination Unknown. Tootie was driving, if that's what you wanted to call it. She didn't have her hands at 10 o'clock or 2. She didn't have a hand at any o'clock, basically. Tootie drove with one finger on the wheel. Flora's father would have been appalled. They were in the front seat, all four of them, Tootie, Mary, Ann, Flora, and William Spiver. They were speeding down the road. It was alarming and exhilarating to be going so fast. "So your plan is to effect an exchange?" said William Spiver. "The lamp for the squirrel?" "Yes," said Flora. And please correct me if I'm wrong, we have no idea where the squirrel and your mother are." Flora hated the phrase, "correct me if you're wrong." In her experience, people only said it when they knew they were right. "Ulyssess!" Tootie shouted out her open window. "Ulyssess!" Flora could see the squirrel's name, Ulyssess, flying out of the car into the night, a single beautiful word that was immediately swallowed up by the wind and the darkness. Her heart clenched. Why hadn't she told the squirrel she loved him? "I hate to be the voice of reason," said William Spiver. "Don't be, then," said Flora. "But here we are, speeding down the road, and we are speeding, aren't we?" grinned Aunt Tootie. "Surely we are exceeding the posted speed limit." "I don't see a posted speed limit," said Tootie. She hollered Ulyssess' name again. "In any case," said William Spiver, "it seems that we are going extremely fast, and we are speeding where exactly?" "We don't know. We are en route to an unknown destination, calling out the name of a missing squirrel all the while. It doesn't seem one bit rational." "Well, what's your idea?" said Flora. "What's your plan? We should try to think where your mother would have taken him. We should be logical, methodical, scientific." "Ulyssess!" shouted Tootie. "Ulyssess!" screamed Flora. "Saying his name won't make him appear," said William Spiver. But saying William Spiver's name over and over made him appear. This Flora knew from Terrible Things Can Happen to You was magical thinking or mental causation. According to Terrible Things, it was a dangerous way to think. It was dangerous to allow yourself to believe that what you said directly influenced the universe. But sometimes it did, didn't it? Do not hope, Flora thought. But she couldn't help it. She did hope. She was hoping. She had been hoping all along. "Ulyssess!" she shouted. The car slowed down. "What now?" said William Spiver. "Have we spotted something squirrel-related?" Tootie used a single finger to steer the car to the side of the road. "Let me guess," said William Spiver as they coasted to a stop. "We've run out of gas." "We've run out of gas," said Tootie. "Oh, the symbolism," said William Spiver. Why, Flora wondered, had she ever thought that William Spiver would be able to help her? Why had she thought of him as her safe port in a storm? Was it because he had held her stupid hand in a stupid dream, or was it because he never shut up and she couldn't give up on the idea that he might actually say something at some point that was meaningful help? Talk about magical thinking. "Where are we?" Flora said to Tootie. "I'm not entirely certain," said Tootie. "Great," said William Spiver. "We're lost. Now that we knew where we were going to, not that we knew that where we were going to begin with." "We'll have to walk," said Tootie. "Obviously," said William Spiver. "But walk where?" Chapter 60. He was Ulyssess. They were in the woods. He could tell by the smell of pine resin in the trees and the sound of pine needles crunching underfoot. Also, there were powerful, extremely pervasive scents of raccoons. Raccoons owned the night, and raccoons were truly terrifying creatures, more brutal than even cats. "This will do," said Flora's mother. She stopped. She put the sack down on the ground, and then she opened it and shone bright light on Ulyssess. He clutched his poem to his chest. He stared into the light as bravely as he could. "Give me that," said Flora's mother. She pulled the paper out of his paws. She threw it to the ground. Would she never tire of flinging his words away? "This is the end of the road, Mr. Squirrel," she said. She put the flashlight on the ground. She picked up a shovel, the shovel. He heard Flora's voice saying, "Remember who you are." The squirrel turned and sniffed his tail. He thought about when Flora had shown him the picture of Alfred T. Slipper in his janitor uniform, and how Alfred had been transformed into the bright light that was Incandesto. The words from the poem that Tootie had recited rose up inside of him. Flare up like a flame and make big shadows. He wasn't a stone squirrel, he was Ulyssess. Chapter 61, I Want to Go Home. You can navigate by the North Star, supposedly. Moss grows on the north side of trees, or so they say. If you are lost in the woods, you should stay where you are, and someone will come find you. Maybe. These were the things that Flora had learned about being lost from reading Terrible Things Can Happen to You. Not that any of it was particularly relevant here. They weren't lost in the woods, they were lost in the universe, which according to William Spiver was expanding. How comforting. "Ulyssess!" shouted Tootie. "Ulyssess!" shouted Flora. "It's pointless," said William Spiver. Flora was carrying Mary Ann, and William Spiver was holding on to Tootie's shoulders. Flora hated to agree with William Spiver, but pointless seemed like an increasingly appropriate word. Her arms ached from carrying the little shepherdess. Her feet hurt. Her heart hurt. "Let's see," said Tootie, peering into the darkness. "That's Brickmill Road up there. So we're not truly lost." "I wish I could see," said William Spiver in a sad voice. "You can see," said Tootie. "Great Aunt Tootie," said William Spiver, "I am loath, as always, to point out the obvious, but I will do it here and now for the sake of clarity. You are not me. You do not exist behind my traumatized eyeballs. I am telling the truth, my truth. I cannot see." "There's nothing wrong with you, William," said Tootie. "How many times do I have to tell you that?" Why did she send me away then?" said William Spiver. His voice shook. "You know why she sent you away." "I do?" "You can't just push somebody's truck into a lake," said Tootie. "It was a pond," said William Spiver. "A very small pond. More of a sinkhole, actually." "You cannot totally submerge somebody's vehicle in a body of water," said Tootie in a very loud voice, "and expect that they aren't going to be severe consequences." "I did it in a fit of anger," said William Spiver. "I admitted almost immediately that it was a very unfortunate decision." Tootie shook her head. "You pushed a truck into a lake?" said Flora. "How did you do that?" "I released the parking brake and I put the truck in drive and, that's enough. We don't need to know how to push a truck into a lake lecture." "Sinkhole," said William Spiver. It really was a sinkhole." "Wow," said Flora. "Why did you do it?" "I was exacting my revenge upon Tyrone," said William Spiver. "My name is William Spiver, not Billy. I was Billy one time too many. I cracked. I pushed Tyrone's truck into the sinkhole, and when my mother found out, she was incandescent with rage. I looked upon her rage, and you know what happened? I was blinded by disbelief and sorrow." He shook his head. "I'm her son, but she made me leave. She sent me away." Even in the darkness, Flora could see the tears crawling out from underneath William Spiver's dark glasses. "I want to be called William Spiver. I want to go home." Flora felt her heart lurch inside of her. "I want to go home." I was another one of William Spiver's. It was one of William Spiver's sad, beautiful sentences. But will you return? I came looking for you. I want to go home. Flora realized that she wanted to go home too. She wanted things to be the way they were before she was banished. She put Mary Ann down on the ground. "Give me your hand," she said. "What?" said William Spiver. "Give me your hand," said Flora again. "My hand? Why?" Flora reached out and grabbed hold of William Spiver's hand, and he held on to her. It was as if he were drowning and she were standing on solid ground, according to Terrible Things. Drowning people were desperate, out of their minds with fear. In their panic, they could pull you, the rescuer, under if you weren't careful. So Flora held on tightly to William Spiver, and he held on tightly back. It was just like her dream. She was holding William Spiver's hand, and he was holding hers. "Well, if you two are going to walk around holding hands, I suppose I'll have to be the one who carries this monstrosity of a lamp." She picked up Mary Ann. Above them, the stars were brilliant, shining brighter than Flora had ever seen them shine. "I wish my father were here," said William Spiver. He wiped at the tears on his face with his free hand. An image of Flora's father, hands in his pockets, hat on his head, smiling and saying, "Holy Bagumba," in the voice of Dolores, rose up in Flora's mind. Her father. She loved him. She wanted to see his face. "I know where we should go," said Flora. Chapter 62. Atop a giant donut. A superhero flew over the sleeping world. The world was beautiful and he was alive. There are sure a lot of houses. They sure do look alike. Also, the superhero was lost. "Flora, here I am sitting on top of a giant donut. I wish Flora were here with me. Flora!" Chapter 63, Little Fishes. "A squirrel flies in," said Dr. Meacham. "This I did not expect at all. It is what I love about life, that things happen which I do not expect. When I was a girl in Blunder Meakin, we left the window open for this very reason, even in the winter. We did it because we believed something wonderful might make its way to us through the open window. Did wonderful things find us? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But tonight it has happened, something wonderful." Dr. Meacham clapped his hands. "A window has been left open. A squirrel flies in the window. The heart of an old woman rejoices." Ulyssess' heart rejoiced too. He wasn't lost anymore. Dr. Meacham would help him find Flora. Also, Dr. Meacham might make him a jelly sandwich. Imagine, Dr. Meacham. Imagine if I had been sleeping what I would have missed. But then always and forever I would have been an insomniac. You know what that is? Insomnia? Ulyssess shook his head. "It means I do not sleep. When I was a girl in Blunder Meacham, I did not sleep. Who knows why? It could be some existential terror related to the trolls, or it could be simply because I do not sleep. Sometimes there are no reasons. Often, most of the time, there are no reasons. The world cannot be explained, but I'll talk too much. I digress. I need to say to you, why are you here? And where is Flora Bell?" Ulyssess looked at Dr. Meacham. He made his eyes very big. If only there were some way to tell her everything that had happened. Flora's mother saying that life would be easier without her, the universe expanding, William Spiver's banishment, Flora's homesickness, the writing of his poem, the typing of the untrue words, the stone squirrel, the sack, the woods, the shovel. The squirrel was overwhelmed by everything there was to say and his inability to say it. He looked down at his front paws. He looked back up at Dr. Meacham. "Ah," she said, "there is too much to say. You do not know where to begin." Ulyssess nodded. "Perhaps it would be good to begin with a little snack." Ulyssess nodded again. When the other Dr. Measham was alive, I could not sleep. Do you know what he would do for me? This man would put on his slippers and he would go out into the kitchen and he would fix for me sardines on crackers. Do you know sardines? Ulysses shook his head. Little fishes in a can. He would put these little fishes onto crackers for me, and then I would hear him coming back down the hallway, carrying the sardines and humming, returning to me. Dr. Measham sighed. Such tenderness to have someone get out of bed and bring you little fishes, sit with you as you eat them in the dark of night, to hum to you. This is love. Dr. Measham wiped at her eyes. She smiled at Ulysses. So she said, I will make for you what my beloved made for me, sardines on crackers. Does this seem like a good thing? Ulysses nodded. It seemed like a very good thing. We will eat because this is important to eat. And then, even though it is the middle of the night, we will go and knock on the door of Mr. George Buckman. And he will open the door to us because he is capacious of heart. And then George Buckman and I will figure out together why you are here and where our Flora Belle is. Ulysses nodded. Dr. Measham went into the kitchen, and the squirrels sat on the windowsill and looked out into the dark world. Flora was out there somewhere. He would find her. She would find him. They would find each other, and then he would write her another poem. This one would be about little fishes and humming in the dark of night.